Welcome in everybody to leading off right here on Fantasy Pros. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and that is not Dan Harris. Oh no, it is Brendan Tuma joining us this morning. Dan Harris on a little mini vacation, going to see a little Mets game this weekend, hanging out with the family. But that's okay because the Peanuts and the Cracker Jacks, this is the family of baseball right here. And we got a lot to talk about today. The Yankees continue to add left-handed bats. It looks like the Dodgers are making a power play. And Brendan Tuma, we are not at a loss whatsoever this morning, my friend, for getting some baseball to talk about. Lots going on. What's happening, my brother? Good morning.
Joe, how we doing? I kind of feel bad taking the show away from Dan. This was like one of the biggest news days in baseball I can remember in a long time.
Yeah, well, you know what, man? Just be happy we have something to talk about. There's some days where we come in here and it's like, it's the Friday morning after a Thursday night or something like that, and it's like, well, there's not a whole lot going on, but man, there are so many things to get to. And Brennan, it's fun. You and I have not done a show together. This is very nice. And I got to ask you, this is an important question. There's Brendans, there's Brandons. How often do people call you Brandon, and how much does it piss you off?
It doesn't piss me off. I get it here and there a bit, but I do usually, even like in my everyday life, go by my last name, Tuma.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I were messaging on Slack. This was months ago. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
you're one of the only people who understand like the name Too Much Tuma, like where it came from.
Anybody who does not appreciate Nick Kroll and John Mulaney and the incredible work of Oh Hello is missing out. Go run to Netflix. Go listen to the Oh Hello podcast. It is hilarious, and you can never have too much tuna or too much tuna. So let's get to let's just first out of the way today in Shohei. Just get it out of the way. He 3 walks, stole a base. He was on base again a million times. 15 stolen bases for Shohei Ohtani on the season. I mean, this is a wrinkle I don't think any of us really quite saw coming. Brendan, did it surprise you like that we're up to 15 steals here and it's not even August 1st yet for Shohei Ohtani?
Did you see the stat? He's the first player ever to have 37 homers and 15 steals since before the end of July.
Oh, it's crazy. It's just, every time you think he can't do something more unbelievable, he absolutely does. And obviously, if you want to start with unbelievable, we got to get with the headlines. Now, it appeared as though that the Padres were going to land Max Scherzer. That was what we get. And, it's funny. We don't usually get breaking stuff like that from guys like Ken Rosenthal unless it's kind of a done deal. So typically we all kind of felt like, oh, okay, this is done. And then all of a sudden the worm turned and the Dodgers jump in there and like, no, no, no. They get apparently not only Max Scherzer, but also Trey Turner. They also pulled off another deal for Danny Duffy, and all they had to give up, I didn't say all, but I know Kybert Ruiz is a big-time catching prospect. I get that. Josiah Gray, another nice prospect. But Tuma, this doesn't feel like they're giving up a whole lot to bring in a Hall of Fame pitcher and one of the best shortstops in baseball. What was your takeaway from this deal yesterday?
Yeah, I think this is kind of where we're at now in, the landscape of baseball and trading prospects for, rentals at the trade deadline. But no, I agree with you. It wasn't like they gave up their 2 best prospects, but it wasn't, no like top 10 prospects or anything like that. And this is what you can do when you're the Dodgers and you've just been year after year building up your farm system and you have, more money than any other team other than the Yankees, maybe. Like these are the types of moves you can make. And as a fan, you got to be thrilled that you're going for another World Series.
Yeah, I guess here's the other question, too. What's the ripple effect here, right? I mean, I know Corey Seager's had some health issues. He is a shortstop by trade. What happens between Turner and Corey Seager? And, I mean, I know what the Dodgers have always is the ability to move everybody around, right? I mean, that's always been their thing, whether it was Kiki Hernandez, Chris Taylor. They've always had these guys, right, that you could do that with. But looking forward into next year, if you do a little bit, or even the rest of this year, how do you think the Trey Turner addition kind of messes with the infield at all when everybody is healthy? Gavin Lux just disappears. Is that kind of where we're at?
Yes, I mean, this is obviously the biggest trade from a real life perspective, but I also kind of think it has the most fantasy implications. The first and foremost being that it sounds like Trey Turner is going to play second base. Corey Seager is expected back today, Friday. And Trey Turner, he's already, what's he going to be in drafts next year? Top 3, 4 pick? And he adds second base eligibility to that, assuming he plays it the rest of the way. So that, I mean, it's just a gift if you're a Trey Turner manager, right?
Yeah, and second base obviously not great, especially coming into this year. Altuve's been very good, but outside of him and a few other guys, been more disappointments than good. I also think that the Max Scherzer acquisition, I said it on the show earlier in the week, that watch what the Dodgers do because that's going to tell you what's going to happen with Trevor Bauer. I think it's safe to say you're not going to see Trevor Bauer again the rest of the season. They added not only Scherzer but Duffy. That's two more arms, and I know you can never have enough. But between Scherzer and Kershaw and Mookie Betts and like the amount of MVPs and Cy Youngs and things like that, it's kind of crazy how decorated this team is right now. But I kind of get the feeling that this was them saying, look, we're all in. We want to repeat. We won last year. This is our window with this team. And Trevor Bauer, it feels like, is now going to be an afterthought. I would be very surprised if we saw him again. And I know it's kind of putting you on the spot, but do you kind of get that same feeling?
Yeah, I mean it's a difficult situation obviously to talk about for a number of reasons, but he's not IL eligible, so from a fantasy sense,
Right.
he's kind of just like burning a bench spot. Even if it was announced he could come back tomorrow, he would, I assume, have to build back up innings. So I'm kind of fine with dropping him in leagues, and you got to start making. We're in crunch time now with fantasy
Mm-hmm.
baseball. Like playoffs in a lot of leagues start in 4 weeks, beginning of September, depending on your format. So it is crunch time. Like in my leagues, I don't have bench spots to spare for someone like that. So it is really, we're getting down there in the thick of it.
Yeah, and you mentioned the most frustrating part is you can't IL him. It's he's just soaking up a bench spot for you, and it's bad news. Now the good news is you're going to get a lot more pitchers now getting opportunities probably the last part of the year that might be worth picking up, and that's something to keep in mind. Also getting dealt yesterday, so the Yankees, I've been saying all year, have been missing missing left-handed power. The two right-handed, they always have been the last year or two. And now they get Joey Gallo, and now they get Anthony Rizzo from the Cubs, which is kind of surprising to everybody. I think this is a really good move by the Yankees because Rizzo is a really solid guy, real club leader. This kind of rips the heart out, I feel like, a little bit for the Cubs fan. They love Anthony Rizzo. He's their guy. He was the guy that before everything started building around. So take me through the perspective in the fantasy. You got now two big time left-handed power bats in this order, and you're still obviously Stanton, Judge, all those guys when healthy. It's quite an order. So from the Yankee perspective, from a fantasy perspective, what are your thoughts on this Rizzo deal?
So I'm a Red Sox fan. I have Red Sox season tickets, and we'll get to Schwarber in a sec. But Rizzo was the one I wanted, and I think he's really important for the Yankees because adding Gallo is obviously a lot more swing and miss. And I know that they're more lefty, they're more balanced now with the two lefties, but that was still so much swing and miss. Obviously, Rizzo will help with that. He's a great team leader, all that. For fantasy, I actually think he gets a bit bigger of a bump in value than Gallo would. Because like Gallo, all his homers, they leave the stadium anyway, like he will be helped by the short porch. But on Baseball Savant, you can look at Rizzo has 14 homers this year, and you can look at how many homers he would have if he played all his games in certain ballparks. And of the 14 he has this year, if he played every game in Yankee Stadium, he'd have 23 homers.
Hmm.
So I think it's kind of going to make a bigger deal for him other than Gallo, who, again, like I said, his homers go into the second, third deck anyway.
Right. Yeah, Joey Gallo does not have a problem making sure the ball leaves the actual ballpark. Sometimes it leaves the physical ballpark, not just the field. And you mentioned about Schwarber. That's another deal we got to get to here. So I guess the expectations are he's going to go play first base, which I can only assume they're bringing in Tom Amansky and getting the full skills video out there for him so he can go refine the skills at first base. This is kind of death for Bobby Dahlback. Your thoughts on Kyle Schwarber as the Nationals' bloodletting continued yesterday?
Yeah, using the same analogy that I used for Rizzo, Schwarber, he has 25 homers. If he played every game in Fenway Park, he'd have 21. So maybe a slight downgrade. Fenway isn't always the best spot for lefty power hitters. But I think Schwarber, he's going to be fine. He's going to be back in a week or two. I don't think his value changes that much. I meant to ask you when we talked about Turner as well, do you think this Nationals fire sale dings Juan Soto at all in terms of his counting
Oh
stats?
my God! In terms of his counting stats, it's got to hurt a little bit. I mean, here's the thing: if you're an OBP league, I mean, I don't know, can he have a 500 on base percentage the rest of the year? I mean, might just walk every time, and he's shown you that he's got the plate discipline that he's just not going to swing at crap. The question is, does he get frustrated with what's going on around him? And also, now you got to start to take a look at it. If you're Juan Soto, you're looking around. Strasburg out for the year. Scherzer gone. There's no prime pitching prospect that's like coming through. There's nobody else around you now. Rendon is gone. Ryan Zimmerman's going to be done. Josh Bell was a 1-year deal. Schwarber's done. I mean, if I'm Juan Soto, there's no way I'm signing a long-term deal. Now, they might be like opening up, all the salary so they can make sure Juan Soto is locked up forever and give him a $300 million contract. But Tuma, if you're Juan Soto, is this the spot you want to be for the next 10 years? I think that's a legitimate question to ask yourself.
Yeah, it definitely is. And he is still under control. He's so young.
Oh,
He's still
yeah.
under control
He's actually 15. He's 15 years old. People don't even realize that. But seriously, man, like, I mean, I'm walking around with Juan Soto. I just won the World Series. I mean, won a World Series just 2 years ago. And now I'm looking around and thinking to myself, oh, man, like, there's nobody here. It's all gone. Like, I don't know, man. It's a really tough turnaround for him.
It really isn't. You would hope that they were having these conversations with him and maybe trying to explain that, by starting the rebuild now, that they're getting a jump start on things, rebuild the farm system. We know Mike Rizzo, their GM, probably hates this. He is the most stubborn when it comes to rebuilding of any recent GM that I can remember. So I think they're gonna spend money. We know that. But they got to lock up Soto before they know what direction they're headed in.
And the other piece from the Nationals yesterday was reliever Daniel Hudson getting traded to the Padres. So Padres are up against it now. Now, here you go. I think that you're going to get Barrios dealt. You might even get Buxton along with it in the same deal. I'm going to give you two possibilities, and then you can say other also and give me another. Mets, Padres, or other for the guys on the Twins.
I'll say Padres for Barrios. That just feels like an AJ Preller move. But the Mets, they got to do something, right? I think
so.
Bryant.
I thought so. Yet they've done nothing, Brendan. I don't know what's going on. This is very frustrating. We're kind of looking around at ourselves, and I give them credit because they did a really good job this offseason. I mean, they brought in a lot of depth. They did make the big move to get Lindor, all that stuff. They did pony up the money to sign him. But it does feel like they kind of need something else. Are they just waiting for this? You can't wait for this Carrasco start today to see what happens. Like, I don't think you can look at it that way, do you?
I think they made the Lindor Carrasco trade, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, Steve Cohen's arrived. We're the Dodgers now." And there was all that. And then
I think the Dodgers showed you they're still the Dodgers yesterday afternoon.
There was Chris Bryant talk in the offseason even. So, I mean, that one, there's been so many links. That just makes a lot of sense. If you're the Mets, you want to do something, though, right?
All right, here's another question for you, Brendan. Tell me, with the Cubs, Bryant gone, Baez gone, who goes today? And where do they go? Let's have some fun here. I still think the A's get Baez. I still think somehow they find a way to work that out. What are your thoughts on where Chris Bryant, does he end up in San Francisco? Does he end up with the Mets? Does he end up with the Padres? Who knows?
I'm going to say Bryant to the Mets. I feel pretty confident about it. Again, there's just been so many links. Baez, I don't have a feel on. Is that a rumor, him going to Oakland?
Well, it's been something that I've talked about in my shows because it feels like a good fit. And that was before they made the Marte deal. And I don't think they gave up. I mean, they gave up Lazardo for Marte, but it doesn't feel like you have to give up that much for Baez. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like. And I always feel like the teams that are first to market and last to market kind of win in the trade scenario, whether it be in fantasy baseball or real baseball. So I think the Padres right now are up against it. Like, the Padres are in a bad spot because not only did you not get Scherzer, but the Dodgers got him. And that's just got to sting. And they got Trey Turner. I mean, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that this morning. Let's get to the ups and downs. Ups, Joe Musgrove, 11 Ks in the win over the Rockies. Frankie Montas, 10 Ks of his own. He was our favorite guy, the only guy we liked last night, but Musgrove was also good. And Vladdy Jr. hits number 33 as the Blue Jays beat the Red Sox and then fly up to Canada. They're going to be playing in Canada today. That is a big up. Very cool. So what'd you think of the big performances yesterday from Musgrove and Montas, Tuma?
Yeah, I think they're both, pretty set it and forget it. And Montes in particular, he's been like real up and down. Like, he's had some low lows for a while. Mm-hmm. So I think for him, you really just want to see that consistency. You don't want to have to be worrying about, do I start him? Do I not start him? So if he can continue on a roll for a while, I think that'll make the biggest difference maker. Didn't Dan say yesterday it's been a while since Musgrove had a dominant performance?
He did. And wouldn't you know it, there it goes. Also, we'll get to Trevor Story stuff. I know some folks in the chat are looking for that, and we'll get to some questions because that's another big shoe to drop too. And it doesn't look like it's the Yankee shoe anymore after the Rizzo trade. Eduardo Rodriguez was obliterated for 6 runs in 3 innings. Rhys Hoskins had a good game, but then left because of the groin injury. And Indians manager, or should I say Guardians manager, Terry Francona, stepping down for the rest of the season with some personal health issues. So we wish Tito all the best there in that one. Story's that other guy we actually neglected to speak about because there's just so much going on at the top of the show. Is that the guy you think for the Padres now that you pivot to? I think it's Barrios. I think you go with the pitching because now you got to match up in a short series with that Dodger pitching. If Kershaw's right, Scherzer, Kershaw, Walker, Bueller, Urias, man, that's pretty tough right there.
I agree. If I was the Padres, I'd rather Berrios. And Story, I don't think it'd be crazy if the Rockies just kept him. Which do we trust the Rockies front office at all
No.
to do the right thing? And the Nationals, the year they had Bryce Harper, he was an impending free agent. They were kind of out of it. They kept him and they just took the draft pick compensation. So I kind of think that could happen since there's not a really obvious suitor for Story right now. But yeah, the Rockies have like the bleakest outlook, I think, of any franchise in the league right now.
Yeah,
So.
and it's always bleak because it's always difficult with the pitchers and stuff like that. Because pitchers don't want to sign their free agency, and the ones you grow don't particularly. And they have a lot of pieces too. I mean, you have Herman Marquez, you have Gray, you've got Story, you've got pieces there that you would think would be interesting. And I don't know if you want the draft pick if you're the Nationals, only because you kind of need to start. You have to kind of turn things over here. Otherwise, you're a bleak organization because if you got to wait 3 years for some of these guys with draft picks to hit, you just traded Arenado. You're losing Story potentially. I don't know. It's a lot to get to. Let's get to the rest of the standouts. Ryu was good in that game against the Red Sox. 5 Ks, no earned for him. That's a very important start. Also very important, Freddie Peralta. Whew. Look, finally, we got back to being Freddie Peralta. So maybe it was just the extended break, but he looked good again yesterday. He went a normal amount of innings. That's what we want to have. Luis Patino, 8 Ks against the Yankees. Very good start. Casey Mize, 7 innings pitched against the Orioles. Good start for him. Max Scherzer's farewell. He was strong. 5 Ks, 6 innings. Joey Votto, enough already. Joey Votto's got 50 points against me right now, and it's not even Friday. It is Friday now, and I can't. My mind is just melting because of Joey Votto in the playoffs right now. What am I going to do? At least I'm losing to Mike Smith, who's a good friend of mine, and he's a great dude, a great baseball guy, and a good Black Book supporter, so I love Mike. Austin Riley, 6 homers, 13 RBI in the last 7 games. Bad June, but man, pretty good year overall. Vladdy with his 33rd, we talked about him. Josh Harrison, 5 for 8 with a home run, starting Marte at a steal and a run scored in his A's debut. Rowdy Tellez, quietly. Nobody's really talking about Rowdy Tellez. I talked about it on the show yesterday. He's been a lineup builder in DFS. He's been very cheap. Tellez has been a really good move. It feels like Milwaukee makes all these under-the-radar moves, and whether it be Adams or Tellez, like all of a sudden they're getting a fair amount out of these guys, which is really kind of stunning. But I just wonder what happens when they get in the playoffs, Tuma.
Yeah, Milwaukee for a few years now has been a pretty, under the radar franchise. They're not the Rays. The Rays get all the love for, oh my God, they don't spend money, but they're so good. And the Brewers have done like a lot of things quietly, like developing Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns. And like you said, the Adames trade, they've gotten Hader. They're a good franchise and they're kind of cash strapped, but it's fun to see them do well.
Garrett Cole, 7 earned runs in 5 1/3 against the Rays. Had 10 strikeouts. What in the world, Tuma? I mean, we're just back on the Garrett Cole. We feel good. It's safe. Okay, well, he's going to go face the Rays. This should be pretty good. 7 earned runs against the Rays? I mean, no Nelson Cruz is there now, but what do you make of this start? You just kind of chalk it up and throw it away?
Yeah, I'm actually think this is a kind of good time to buy in on Cole because it was a really bad first inning and then a really bad last inning, and then he settled down. I think the thing we're learning with some of the sticky stuff is someone like Cole, he's just going to be a little more inconsistent. But when he's on top of his game, he's still as good as anyone. He had a ton of swing and misses. That's what I look for, over the earned runs. I think it was a little small sample fluke in that sense. So no, he isn't the Garrett Cole we thought we were drafting him as, but I do think that he's still going to be, a real asset down the stretch. And I would look past the 7 earned runs.
Carlos Rodon, 4 earned runs, 4 innings pitched, velocity down. Any concerns about him? I know I was concerned after the break what we were going to get. And this is also why I keep saying Lance Lynn for Cy Young. And I feel like I'm on an island by myself here with this. And you know what? I might just have to go over to FanDuel Sportsbook and put money on that today. The only award I put money on was Ohtani at 650. I put a 100 spot on that. I'm liking how that looks. Starting to feel real good about Lance Lynn because if Lance Lynn goes out there tonight and has another big start, in fact, I might not even wait because Lance Lynn's on the mound tonight. I might just go do it. But what are your thoughts on Rodon? You think he gets a breather here?
Yeah, I think this was kind of the concern. It was tough because we knew that innings limit might be coming for him, but in the middle of the summer, it's just so tough to trade high-end pitching. That's not usually something that fantasy managers have an excess of. But we did know this was coming in, and it does look like it's hitting a little hard. I'm worried they're going to shut him down for a couple weeks, go some shorter starts for a while. I mean, they're a playoff team, so they need to, keep him stretched out and healthy. They can't shut him down fully or anything like that. But yeah, maybe now is a good time to try to get out.
All right, for the Mets, 0 for 4 for Conforto. He's in a 4 for 32 slump. Taijuan Walker had a bad start. I know he's had a bad July. The ERA is at 9, but I mean, he's been so good for this team, and maybe he's also kind of experienced a little fatigue there. And this is why, DeGrom coming back healthy is just paramount for them, and Carrasco being good is paramount. They need more pitching. I'm sorry. So Tyler McGill is not going to get it all done. And also, J.D. Davis with a very special hat trick, 3 Ks, 0 for 4. So just wanted to point that out. It's not special.
A lot of Mets in the down section today.
Yeah, I'm well aware of this, Tuma. Thanks for pointing this out to me, Tuma. And it's funny, as a Mets fan, I have this, as a kid after the 86 World Series, I always have a soft spot for the Red Sox, and I always, little brother syndrome being a Mets fan. I always like the Red Sox, I always root for them against the Yankees, and I was so happy when they won. And it's weird, like when the Mets are bad, I'm always like, well, at least I can kind of watch the Red Sox, and I kind of in a weird way like root for them and stuff like that. But you're right. It's been a bad stretch here for the Mets. DeGrom did throw a light bullpen session, though, so we'll see how that goes. What do you make of this Mike Trout situation, too? Everyone's encouraged by the MRI results, but we still have no damn timetable. In your opinion, where would you rank Mike Trout next season in terms of first-round value? Is he still a first-round player for you going into next year after all of this and the last couple of years where, let's face it, there's been a few injuries here with Mike Trout?
Yeah, so when I brought up the Turner note before about him, possibly being a top 3 player in drafts next year, I kind of started thinking, what would the first round of 2022 look like? I am someone who historically does not, I like to try to draft players who I feel I'm getting at a reduced cost due to injury concerns. So I will still value Trout as a late first. It's just the idea of taking Mike Trout at the 1-2 turn it's hard to wrap my head around. So it's not impossible, very, very frustrating this year.
Well, you're seeing Vlad move. You're seeing Vlad's in the first round now.
Tatis.
Who wasn't? Tatis is always going to be there. It's usual suspect, but then you add Vlad into the first round, right? I think Devers goes back into the first round. I think you'd agree with that. So when you're starting to add people, Shohei Ohtani is going to be in the first round. I mean, where would you take Shohei Ohtani, just the hitter? Considering the power and the speed right now, Shohei Ohtani, the hitter, has got to be a top 5 pick.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. So you're right. You start moving all these people up, and Trout will be valued as a late first, early second, I think. And I'd be comfortable taking him there.
Me too.
But maybe it goes later. Maybe it's more like mid-second.
Oh my God. You know what? If I was at the turn, I'd have to just do it. I'd have to pull the trigger and just try. Because, the upside is 1-1, right? So you gotta give it a shot. Andrew Vaughn played second base yesterday. Tuma, I guess now on Yahoo he'll qualify there for the next 10 years. Your thoughts on this, the White Sox continuously trying to move pieces around, especially with Abreu and Jimenez both out of the lineup yesterday?
Yeah, I obviously, as Dan always notes, I'm big into prospects and rookies. And Andrew Vaughn, you look at his season-long numbers, they're not particularly strong. They don't pop off the page, but he has really improved as the year has gone on. Through June 15th, he had a 27% strikeout rate. And since then, he has a 17% strikeout rate. And additionally, he's hitting for a lot more power. The numbers, since mid-June have just been a lot better. And, again, you look at those season-long numbers, they don't stand out, but he is improving. And I've been encouraged by that. He needs to be rostered definitely everywhere.
All right. Also, a little correction for our home run contest. Randy is a gentleman and a scholar. A correction from yesterday. We had Randy with a home run, but that was an error. He's back down to 19 with slumming with the rest of us. Fired up, had Vlad, moves up to 16, and Useless Panic also had Vlad, he moves up to 14. So D, Gordon, Liddy, and Randy at 19, Wonky Penguin, myself at 18, and then Brick, JB, and Fired Up at 16. So, man, I have an ice cold. I need to get a dinger. But before we get to the DFS and the dinger calls, I want to remind everybody, be like Dan Harris. Dan Harris, before he went on vacation, made sure that he lawnmowered himself really nice, just in case they went to Coney Island, just in case they went to Jones Beach, or found a little bit of a lake or something to go to. So Dan Harris looked nice and clean, because we know Dan has a swimmer's body. Everybody knows that. And you can too. at least in terms of the lack of hair. All you got to do is get that Lawnmower 4.0 from manscaped.com, 20% off and free shipping from us here using that code leading off. You get the skin safe technology, the 4K LED light, the 1 through 4 guard lengths, the incredibly long battery length. All of it can be yours. All you need is the Lawnmower 4.0, and you can only get that at manscaped.com. Again, the code is leading off, 20% off and free shipping. Your balls will thank you. Now, let's get to the DFS slate tonight, Tuma. 15 games. Corbin Burns kind of leads the pack here. 11K, 11.2 on FanDuel, 10.2 on DK. Jose Barrios, 9K, 8.1. Big difference there. I'll be surprised if he makes this start tonight. I don't know about you. And then, of course, there's Lance Lynn at 10.3 on DK, 10.7 on FanDuel. I will take Lance Lynn if I'm going cash tonight. What are your thoughts? And do you think Barrios makes this start for the Twinkies?
Sure. I mean, Scherzer started for the Nationals yesterday, so who knows? But no, that'll be past the deadline, so I don't think it'll happen. I agree with you on Lynn. The other big name I'm seeing up there is Kevin Gausman, but just the fact that he's facing the Astros, I wouldn't want to use him there.
Yeah, I agree. He's in my 4 outcome games because Gausman's been a little bit more human lately. Big price. Same price as Lance Lynn. I'm not sure I'd have Lance Lynn in this game. Framber Valdez is on the other side, too. And Framber's capable of, getting a good game back in there, too. So I don't like the 4 outcome games. I'm not investing in Gray and Carrasco. I'm not investing in Chris Bassett, Patrick Sandoval. Maybe in a tournament, 8.8. Maybe you can go that route tonight. But Framber versus Kevin Gausman, that's a hard pass for me. Secondary market's interesting. You got Tuki Toussaint in a tough matchup, but he's only 6.9 as a secondary arm on DK. Tariq Skubal 7.5. Any love for those guys, or maybe even Jamison Taillon tonight if you're trying to go a little bit further down in the tournament world?
Tukey, there was a note that I saw that he changed his release point, so maybe that's why he's having success lately. But it's not enough for me. Not enough for me to buy in on yet. Okay. I think Patrick Sandoval would be the one if I'm looking deeper that I would want to roll with. Just based off that last start, he had Saturday with the 13 strikeouts, but he might be very rostered. So I don't know, how much that would affect the ownership percentage.
Yeah, and Sandoval at 8.8. I think with some of the big names you have, I don't know. I think it's worth a shot in the tournaments. He's 8.8 on both sites, by the way, in case you're curious. In terms of stacks tonight, in terms of offense, Toronto is definitely one you want to get in on. First night back, I think it's going to be very exciting for them. I think there's going to be a lot of juice there. The White Sox, just keep an eye on who's in that lineup tonight, because depending on who that is. And if you want to go Oppo, it's going to be a little crazy here, but the Houston Astros just never quit, and Gausman's been a little bit more human. I think a lot of people will fade away from the Astros today. Maybe you look at the Astros. Anything else on the offensive side of the board kind of stand out to you potentially tonight in DFS, Tuma?
I agree with you about Toronto attacking the rookie Daniel Lynch. He's lefty, so get your righty Blue Jays hitters in.
Yeah.
And then one thing I like about the White Sox is their lineups have been pretty hilarious this season with, the Billy Hamiltons and Brian Goodwins and Gavin Sheets. So you can get a lot of cheap hitters from that offense. So I like using them as a stack offense, but again, you can use the cheap Gavin Sheets, Brian Goodwin, those types.
And look at that. Look at perfect segue, Tuma. 2.3 Gavin Sheets right there on FanDuel. You also got Brent Rooker at 2.1 free square, 2.7 on FanDuel for Ramiel Tapia and for Adam Frazier, both leading off, really good investments. On DK, Rooker is 3.2, Andrew Vaughn is 2.7. Who knows? Maybe he'll catch tonight. You never know where Andrew Vaughn's going to play next. And Robbie Grossman at 3.1. Those are some of the lineup builders. Now, it's that time. You're always making your home run calls in the channel, so now you got to make one here. And I'm going to give you the board. The board is yours. Where are you going to call your shot for a dinger tonight, Tuma?
Well, I like what you said about Toronto having a lot of juice. I have been on Vlad ever since he came up. I was wrong for 2 years, but this year it's working out. So I am the definition of Vlad bot.
There you go. Turn the keys. Me and Tuma, new best friends. That's who I had on my sheet as well. And unlike Dan, who always wants to be different, I just want to be right. Who cares about different? I want to win this damn thing. Vlad is my guy tonight. Vlad is my guy all weekend. Going in hot back to Canada. That's what we want. Good stuff there. Great stuff from the Peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I know Mayor's going to be all over in terms of, Tuma and Mayor will be all over the internet today in terms of all the trade deadline stuff. So we'll be available to answer questions on Twitter. You can always hit me up at Joe Pisapia 17 and hit the guys up as well. We're always there helpful. And in Discord too. at fantasypros.com/chat. Don't forget about that. Also, don't forget about that Shane Bieber jersey. You got 1 day left to get in there. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts or CastBox. Screenshot it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Fantasy Pros MLB, and get the 3 times entry for that Bieber jersey. And next month, we're giving away merch for leading off. So go to fantasypros.com/MLB contest to get involved with that today. Tuma, whew, so much going on today. I need a nap after this. What's your big prediction here? Give me something, maybe, I don't know, surprising, shocking. Does Whit Merrifield get dealt? Do we see something happen that we weren't expecting today at the trade deadline?
I'd love if the Red Sox did one more thing. We've been very loosely linked to Barrios. I'd love it. Also, Craig Kimbrell to the Phillies.
Craig Kimbrell to the Phillies. Yeah, that feels like it could be a done deal there. That would not be shocking at all. So we shall see what goes on there. And depending on what happens or doesn't happen with the Mets, we'll see what kind of Dan Harris we get on Monday. So, and remember, he's going to be at the ballpark Saturday. So if you see somebody running naked on the field after no deals getting made for the Mets, we got a pretty good idea who that person might be. So that'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Tuma, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time.